Hey everyone, and welcome to a very special Digital Foundry video. Well, I say special, what I actually mean is something a little different. Yes, I will be unboxing a console. And normally I'm not particularly keen on this sort of content, but this time around we're going to be taking a look at the 500 million anniversary edition of the PS4 Pro. So, with 500 million PlayStations sold, Sony wanted to commemorate the event, and yes, we're getting a special limited edition PlayStation 4 Pro for that purpose. And here it is, and it's in the basic Sony carton to begin with. CUH 7116B, you'll see at the front there. So yes, that 7100 designation is important. This is a newer second generation PS4 Pro, and maybe the thermal arrangement will be different. Maybe it won't be quite so loud. I mean, that's my #1 bugbear with the Pro. So, well, first of all, let's just take a look at the packaging and see what we got in here. So yes, we're going to open the carton, and immediately what I'm seeing is a very nice looking presentation here. Let's get all of the bumps out of the way and get the machine out. So there we go. This particular model is 2 terabytes, which is pretty awesome because, well, 1 terabyte is standard and we're always in need of new space. Let's get the carton out of the way and take a look at the box itself. So we're going to remove the cellophane wrapping first of all. So yes, this is a proper unboxing in that I have not seen the content. So here we are with the retail packaging fully unboxed from the carton. Very nice plastic finish to this, translucent just like the machine itself. You can get a hint of the PlayStation logo under there. 2 terabyte hard drive, which is going to be welcome for a limited edition like this. This machine actually costs in the UK £450, which is pretty much on par with Xbox One X. So yes, we do need a bit of extra value there, but this is a limited edition and they're pretty much sold out now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what's in here. So let's open it up. And PlayStation blue plastics here. Let's see if we can remove that. Actually, it's going to take this box out first. And, well, it is, of course, a PlayStation. There will be PlayStation peripherals in there. And what do we got? Well, let's begin with this. It is a translucent PlayStation 4 controller, DualShock 4 there, very nice. Very shiny. Has a kind of little bronze motif there on the PlayStation logo and also on the share and option buttons. Otherwise, pretty standard DualShock 4. Interesting thing here is that we're also getting a PlayStation camera, which I didn't expect actually. So let's open that up and take a look at it. Standard PlayStation 4 camera there, the new model, which came out, I believe, with the PlayStation VR set. Matching color, otherwise pretty much unremarkable. So let's get that out the way. Let's have a look inside this box. What have we got? It's just your warranty, your instructions, that kind of thing. Nothing particularly interesting there. Next up, under this particular flap, let's take a look and see what we've got in here. My guess, video cables, power cables. This is kind of like the unboxing stuff that I actually find incredibly dull. I mean, we know what we're going to be getting here. Cables, controller, machine. So here we are. We're about to have a look at the actual special edition console itself. So first of all, let's remove the protective surrounds. We have a very nice looking protective sleeve there with the same kind of bronze motif there, which is nice, I guess. But what we really want to see is the machine itself. So here we go. Okay, and here we are. Here is the machine. seems to be shrink wrapped or covered in protective plastic for sure, I guess for the collectors out there to keep the unit in absolutely pristine condition. Difficult to really have too much of an opinion on it when it's covered in this plastic, so I guess we have no choice but to remove the plastic. One thing I will say straight away though is that it is indeed translucent. We can look through, we can see the cooling assembly there, which is pretty nice I guess, but we really want to see the machine in the flesh, so it's going to be a case of removing the plastic. Which inevitably, of course, is going to result in me sullying the machine with my fingerprints, because it is pretty clear that this is going to be a fingerprint magnet. So let's just get all of that plastic off and see what we're left with. So yeah, here we go. Translucent casing as promised, looks very nice. Bronze logo, bronze finish on the PS4 logo at the front there. A nice little flash there in the same bronze. The translucent side of things, you can see the cooling assembly right there, protective shroud there, so you don't actually see too much of the internals, but it certainly looks pretty nice. And under here you can see the chassis, the kind of the metal that holds everything in place. The main board will be behind that. All very nice. One thing I've noticed straight away, even though I've barely touched the unit, is there's a couple of tiny scratches on there. So yeah, I suspect that you're going to want to take care of this one pretty carefully. But, you know, it's already attracting fingerprints pretty badly, but it is absolutely beautiful. Now, we do have a 2 terabyte hard drive in here, and I was kind of curious as to what kind of hard drive we're actually being delivered here. We've got a 1 terabyte HGST model, 5400 RPM in my Launch Pro. So I'm kind of curious whether Sony have gone for something a bit more adventurous this time around. So let's have a look at that. And well, I guess we're going to remove the hard drive shroud and have a look at the internals there. So let's see how we're going to do that. I've got a screwdriver here where I'm going to be removing the drive, so let's take a look at that. So the screw comes out, a couple of hinges here that allow us to easily take the hard drive caddy out. Certainly looks like a different drive to my original launch unit. Let's put the console aside for a moment and let's just take a look at the drive. Interesting, Sony has moved suppliers here. We have got a Seagate unit, ST2000LM007, well worth having. So I'm going to stick that back into the Pro, and then we're going to do some comparisons with my launch unit. Okay, so here we are, 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, the brand new 500 million edition, and the original launch model here. Now what I will say is that the launch model is made from pretty tough matte plastics. And bearing in mind the amount of punishment I've put through it in the 2 years plus that I've had it, I'd say it's held up pretty well. Controller could do with a wash, mind you. The new model is super shiny, definitely has the kind of premium feel that we never really had with the original model. And my only concerns would be basically just how much of a fingerprint magnet these things are going to be. I actually had to wipe down the Pro here with a microfiber cloth before I resumed filming because it was already starting to look pretty rough. What I will say also is this kind of shiny plastic, a bit concerned about the durability compared to the matte plastic there. I honestly think this is a display piece. I don't think it should be a kind of rough and tumble everyday console there. The new model, the limited edition, just feels on another level. It definitely feels more premium, more luxury, and I kind of want one. If that, I mean, it just looks like a much nicer machine. So that's kind of the comparisons that matter really. It is a brand new PlayStation 4 Pro. It has premium finish to it, and I kind of really like it. But at the same time, we've got more business with this machine. I want to know if the CUH 7100 series, which doesn't apply just to this special edition, but also to all of the latest run of Pros, I want to see whether we got any kind of advantages over the standard model there. Are the thermals better? Is the noise reduced? And yes, I will be breaking out God of War and the thermal camera for that one. So I'm going to wrap things up here. I'm going to get testing and I'll get back to you shortly. Okay, so I'm back in the office now and I have some test results and thoughts for you about the limited edition PlayStation 4 Pro. First of all, let's cut to the chase here and talk about noise, thermals and power consumption, where there have been some reports, as I said earlier, that the new 7100 series Pros are quieter than the launch models. There have also been reports that they're a bit hotter, exactly what we saw with the C chassis PS4 base. Well, I can confirm that that's the case based on my testing. So I used God of War here and noted on my launch model from basic gameplay that power consumption could actually hit or exceed 170 watts, and yes, the fans kicked in hard. What I do want to say is that the Pros aren't uniformly loud under the same load. So there's a Pro in the Eurogamer office that's a ton louder than mine, whereas John's is a fair bit quieter. Also worth noting, bearings on fans wear, so the concept of a cooler getting louder over time is not unheard of. So with that said, let's return to the testing. Right, in God of War I noticed the biggest spikes to power consumption at the beginning of the game happening when there's a close-up on a character like Kratos or Atreus. I can pause here, move to photo mode to sustain that high load and use that as a stress test. Curiously, after 15 minutes or so, my launch Pro suddenly increased power consumption for no apparent reason. I started the test and saw it again, and that was about a peak of about 177 watts. On the new model, we stayed around 166 to 168 throughout with no spikes. But yeah, that launch model hitting 176, 177. Now, I've not done in-depth studies on Pro power consumption since launch, but back then it was like 155 to 160 when I looked at Infamous First Light. Let's talk thermals next. I did two measurements here using a thermal camera. One on the chassis itself at its hottest point and a second on the rear exhaust, where we should expect the highest temperatures. Looking at the CUH 7000 launch model, the casing above the processor came in at 47 to 48 Celsius at its hottest. Moving to the exhaust at the rear, the air was around 60 degrees Celsius. Okay then, so what about the new CUH 7100? The casing above the processor peaked at around 52 to 53 Celsius, 5 degrees higher than the launch model. The exhaust also saw an increase in temps to around 62 Celsius. So a hotter Pro then, but is it a quieter one? Well, yeah, definitely is based on my tests. I did two separate measurements here with a noise meter, one on top of the unit, above the processor, and another at the rear. And yeah, again, you should expect it to be loudest there. So we're looking at about 50 decibels on top of the console and around 55 at the back on my launch model. Switching over to the same measurements on the CUH 7100, we're looking at 46, 47 above the processor and 50 on the rear exhaust. But really the difference is in pitch. It's a much higher pitch on the launch model and a lot more annoying. And yeah, it definitely sounds easier on the ear with the new unit. The new Pro revision runs a bit hotter, but man, it's so much easier to live with under load as the fan noise is, well, it's not quiet, but it's definitely a quality of life improvement over the launch model. And as for the 500 million special edition itself, I think it does enough to show that it's really special. As I mentioned earlier, I feel the Pro has never had the kind of love it deserves in terms of cool limited edition consoles. This is definitely a real talking piece. A showpiece if you like, yeah. And I've got to say that while it comes with special edition DualShock and even an appropriately coloured PSVR camera, one thing is missing: the softest of microfiber cloths. Like the old PSP, it's a fingerprint magnet and I found it really quite difficult to keep clean. Shiny plastics also attract fine scratches very easily, so be really careful with that one. As I said earlier, if your Pro is going to get moved about or handled by kids, a standard model with the matte plastics will be much more durable. But overall, the 500 million edition, it's the best looking Pro I've seen. It comes with the best mechanical drive, the vertical stand really is nice, and it has the benefits of the CUH 7100 upgrades. Basically, a quieter experience all round, albeit a tad hotter. And that's where I'm leaving things for now. Do like and subscribe to support our work. Ring the bell for instant notifications when we publish a new video. And yes, if you really like what we do and you want to support us more directly, please do consider the DF Patreon, where a small contribution gets you access to pristine quality copies of every video we post. That's all from me for now though. Thanks for watching.